Commission. Welcome to the Wrigley Field Night Advisory meeting. For those who have not gotten an agenda, we did have some up here for the community members in the audience. We do have yellow cards and pens up here, so if you want to write any questions down, then we can answer during the Q&A. We just like them written down so that we can capture them for our after action report. But with that, welcome everyone, and we're going to jump right into it. So I'd like to do brief introductions here for the panel that we have. Myself, Chris Coutinho, OEMC, Manager of Emergency Management Services.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ben Watson, the 44th Ward Alderman. Thanks for joining us tonight. I just want to point out real quick, my staff is here. I have Isaac Trumposo in the front. If you don't get my newsletter, please see Isaac. I have Jessica Papp, who handles my schedule, parks and other things. Tommy Kay, the hardest working man in the board, is our board superintendent, and Jake Shelley, who handles all of our infrastructure needs and works with CDOT. So thank you all for being here.
Thank you all. Thank you, Alderman. Mike Lucrano, Vice President of Community Affairs for the Chicago Cubs. I will follow in suit and introduce our team that's here tonight. Doug Lindsay, our Vice President of Security, who keeps us safe and works with everybody in the neighborhood to make sure our neighborhood is safe, whether we're playing or not. I was brilliant until now. I introduced Doug Lindsay, if you didn't hear it. I'm going to do it again because he keeps our neighborhood safe. He's our Vice President of Security, and we're glad to have him here and with us all year round. Jennifer Martinez-Roth, who, if you like my presentation tonight, she did it. If you don't, that was me. Michelle Dietz, if you like the PowerPoint tonight, she did it. If you don't, that was me. Jesse Roman, if you like the way it works tonight, he did that. If not, it was me. I like to say I've made one good decision in my time with the Cubs, which is now coming on 21 years, and that was to hire Heather Wakitsis to be our Director of Neighborhood and Government Affairs. And she's here, and I can tell by the applause, she's doing a great job, so keep it up. And I'll be back, I guess, let me go through all of this. I'm not going to do introductions.
Oh, we will just finish the table, and then you are right back up.
All right, good evening, everybody. Major Signing, Commander of the 19th District. We'll continue the introductions. We got our beloved Sergeant Mayor Levine, who is our business liaison, Sergeant Angelo and Officer Mercado from CAPS, and our executive officer from the 19th District, Terry Forbes. I'm going to pass it off to him.
All right, and last but never least, we have here from OEMC, Marion Therese, part of our media relations, and then Bob Lajewski, Deputy of Traffic Management Authority, and last but never least, our new interim executive director, Frank Velez. And with that, Mike, you are back up.
Back. All right, let me walk over to the center here to stand in front of these wonderful slides. And I will be brief tonight because I think most people here know us and know the things that we've done, but we do want to recap a little bit about what we've accomplished in 2024 and what's ahead of us in 2025. I remind everybody at these meetings, and this is the 22nd year that we've done those meetings. Raise your hand if you've been to all of them. All right, Kay's been with me. Lee's been with us. And those of you who've come to ones, whether it's your first or your 22nd, these meetings are unique. I think I speak for all my colleagues when I say we recognize our community works best when we work together. At the Cubs, we aim to work alongside our neighbors to create a thriving community. And our organization and the Ricketts family want nothing more for this neighborhood than to see us thrive. So let's take a look back at 2024. Being a good neighbor remains one of our goals. It extends beyond Lakeview. I think a lot of people know many of the things we do in the community. If you were around on days when it was snowing and sleeting and you saw us shoveling sidewalks, we do that in an even more extended area than we ever have. That's just what we like to do to be a good neighbor. Let me tell you a few other things that you might not know about. Last year, in 2024, we donated $50,000 in supplies to Wrigley and right here to the Inter-American Magnet School, and more than $100,000 in tickets to community groups across the city to make sure people have a chance to experience Cubs baseball who might not otherwise do that. 2024 was the fourth year in a row that we hosted a United States District Court naturalization ceremony at Wrigley Field. On a beautiful sunny day in the middle of the summer, we swore in 992 new citizens. We plan to do it again this year with the court's willingness. 2024 marked our 12th year of our Cubs Scholars Program. I remember when it started. Since 2013, Cubs Charities has committed more than $1.7 million and supported 85 scholars, including more than a dozen from Lakeview High School. We help kids, we partner up with mentors in our front office. We help them get into college, we help mentor them through college, and then many of them come back and teach and now are being mentors for other kids. It's a wonderful program, and we're really proud of it. I just left Wrigley Field, our final day of the Careers as Sports Executives program. This year we're taking 90 high school students and introducing them to careers in sports and sports management. And this year actually, our CASE program, we're proud of this, was nominated by Major League Baseball for its Buzz Seelig Award for Philanthropic Excellence. It's a program that's getting recognized across the country. 6 other baseball teams are now adopting the program that was started here. New this year in our neighborhood, and I put this at the end of this slide, but we are partnering with Hawthorne, Disney, and here with Inter-American Magnet to run their parking lots. They've had parking lots that are used during the game and throughout the year for a while now. We've adopted that contract, and assuming we get our license before opening day, we're going to be running them on behalf of the schools. A lot of the dollars from there will go back to helping the schools in our community. Why do we do this? Our priorities at the Cubs, you've heard us say them before, to keep Lakeview safe, informed, clean, and vibrant. So I'm going to start with safety for a minute, a word about safety, and we do our best to make this neighborhood safer year-round. Those who've been at other meetings know what we do 24/7. During Cubs games and events, concerts, we put security personnel on the streets for 2 hours after the end of the games, 3 hours after concerts. We make regular investments in technology around the campus. $1 million worth of cameras that we partnered with OEMC on a few years ago. This year added license plate readers and have, working with Chicago Police, helped to identify and help them do their jobs to investigate crime and activity that has happened in the neighborhood. We have a text-friendly service, text-friendly, word friendly, 2773-839-0282 for assistance anytime you're on the Wrigley Field campus. All of those things and more, we've invested in vehicles that are helping Chicago Police. We've invested in neighborhood patrols that help during games and otherwise. We know that anytime there's a survey in this neighborhood, crime is the top issue. We need to keep our neighborhood safe. It's an important issue for anybody who lives here. It's an important issue for every business here. We all want to partner together to keep our neighborhood safe, and we're doing our part on that front. We want to keep our neighborhood informed, safe, informed, clean, and vibrant. We foster two-way dialogue. We have, if you haven't signed up for our relevant newsletter, see Heather or Jesse before you leave. Make sure we get your email address. You'll be on our newsletter. It has great things like access to neighborhood pre-sales and tickets to events, but more importantly, it allows us to keep you informed when there's work going on, when there are changes to schedules, when there are things going on in the community that we want to make sure we're all together on. We let people know. We keep our neighborhood clean. I mentioned snow removal a minute ago. You've probably seen our folks cleaning sidewalks, sweeping sidewalks and curbs 7 days a week during the summer. We empty trash cans in an area bounded as far west as David Avenue, north to Irving Park, south to Diversity. It is something that is important to us and on all streets in the neighborhood. We're going to do that year-round, and we continue to do that. Our neighborhood grounds crew, if you've been a part of our neighborhood grounds crew, volunteers who join us and our team on various weekends throughout the summer to help keep the neighborhood safe, clean and beautiful. Saturday, April 19th, mark down that date. That will be the first meeting of the neighborhood grounds crew this year. And vibrant. I mentioned some of our donations earlier. We're standing in Inter-American. Those of you who know our program called the All-Star Grants Program, every one of the 19 public and private schools in Lakeview, including Lane Tech, Lakeview, and Amundsen High Schools, but including all the elementary schools as well, has gotten a $25,000 grant from us every year since 2017. We're now over $4 million to help keep our schools vibrant and hopefully help keep families and children in the neighborhood. We did in 2024 make the last payment to Cub Fund. Cub Fund was a fund that ended up being $3.75 million of neighborhood infrastructure and improvements. And the last two payments, with Open Losses Help, are used to supplement the Kelly Park renovations. So we're all going to benefit from Kelly Park renovations, and we're proud to support that. A lot of these efforts are going to continue into 2025. And why do we do that? Because we've talked to our neighbors. Our annual neighbor survey results, and this is the 4th or 5th year in a row that we've done this, came back, and we hear you. We not only know some of the statistics, but we hear some of your comments, and we take the time to read them all. Our survey results in February, and many of you participated, thank you. Nearly 85% agreed we're keeping Lakeview safe, informed, clean, and vibrant. 88% agree that the mix of games and events at Wrigley Field contribute to the strength and vibrancy of our community. With increased vehicular traffic, we know that 55% of respondents are concerned about pedestrian safety and are appreciative of the efforts that we're making in that regard. And I'm sure we'll talk more about that tonight. A majority of folks, 65%, would like to see additional musical performances and special events at Wrigley Field. We certainly had fun last year with concerts. We had 2 Northwestern football games in November and then the Winter Classic on New Year's Eve. Great times, great for us. We'd like to see more of them too. I think you're going to see in a minute. We're not going to have as many this year. So those who don't like as many will appreciate 2025, but we're working on that. And 92% of people would like to see Gallagher Way continue. It provides free programming. If you haven't been to Gallagher Way on a weekday in the summer, every day there's something else going on. There's movie nights on Wednesdays. There's yoga in the mornings. It's a wonderful place to visit, and the markets bring together local merchants as well. So we're excited about all of that and to have it continue in 2025. And let's talk about 2025 for a minute. First news on 2025, before I get to the concerts, we're going to have 2 fewer home games. Opening day is coming up, but technically opening day is going to happen on March 18th in Tokyo, Japan. We are fortunate we were chosen by Major League Baseball to travel to Japan. We're going to play the Dodgers on March 18th and 19th. Both of those being designated Cubs home games means we're only going to play 79 home games during the regular season here. We're going to make it all up in October. There you go. Somebody got the line. Concerts for 2025. Thursday, May 22nd, Post Malone. Thursday, June 26th, the Stray Kids. These are exciting. I'd like to tell you there are going to be more, and there may, and we will tell you as soon as we know. But at the moment, these are the 2 that are on our schedule this year. Those of you who are used to seeing 9 and 10 concerts over the last few years, we're excited. We like that. We know they're popular in the neighborhood. Sometimes scheduling concerts is just a function of band tour schedules meshing up with baseball schedules. And this year we've got 2 on the schedule at the moment. That said, our partnership with Northwestern will continue. Stay tuned for announcements about football games next fall. And we'll have a number of other campus events over the summer, which we will keep everybody posted on. Witness the previously mentioned newsletter. For those interested in exploring more immediately, you can check out our neighborhood protection plan, which is available online at cubs.com/neighbors. And for those who want to communicate with us, remember there are any number of different ways to do that in our neighborhood. Neighbors@cubs.com. I won't tell you which of our desks those emails go to, but they come right to our desks and we do read them. We continue to have an 800 number, 866-4-CPD-TOW. Important on game days and event days regarding traffic concerns. That number goes right to the 19th district. It's a way to, you don't have to call 911 if it's a non-emergency. If it's an emergency, please still call 911. But if it's a non-emergency, 866-4-CPD-TOW will get you right to the 19th district. And I mentioned earlier, text friendly, if you want to reach us, those also come right to our Joint Operation Command Center, and we can identify any issues and hopefully solve them. The best news of the night is I'm almost done, and the reason I know that is we get to start talking about opening day, Friday, April 4th, 1:20 p.m. against the Padres. Good seats still available. Our ticket office told me to say that, and we hope to see you there. I think I'm going to pass the microphone and then come back later and be happy to take any questions.
Very good. Thank you, Mike. Thank you so much for that, Mike. Now we're going to go into our City of Chicago overview. I will start for OEMC and then just pass it around, and if those agency representatives can come up when it's their turn, that'd be great. But I'll start for an overview of OEMC before I pass it over to Bob Lajewski, the Traffic Management Authority. So previous to the DNC, we developed what was called our OEMC app, and it's available on all of the app stores. When the DNC was here, we realized that that platform was going to become the standard, and it was utilized so heavily for DNC, and everything that we learned from that. We now push the app as a way to get any of the communications you need. If you do not have it, please, I urge you to download it. Everything from Notify Chicago to street closures to weather is all contained within that app, and then you can customize your notifications. To piggyback off what Mike was saying as far as cameras and LPRs, yes, there is quite a lot of them in the area. One was funded, some of those were funded previously through the Cubs grant, $1 million, I believe, for some of those cameras. And then the Cubs are adding license plate readers. In addition to that, the city also has what are called RDKs, Rapid Deploy Kits. They're essentially cameras on poles, not as big as a trailer. They don't take up as much room on the public way. But those resources are also available at the request of CPD. We will continue working with BACP and CDOT, especially Sergeant Levine, when it comes to the TNPs, the Transportation Network Providers, and that is Uber, Lyft, Via, Divvy. Now we also have the e-scooters. So working closely with our partner agencies, the map, our staging map, which has been out for many, many years now, and which is also posted on the Alderman's website, is here for the 2025 season, including everything from pedicabs to all the TNPs, Transportation Network Providers, taxis, limos, in addition to ADA and WAV wheelchair accessible vehicle staging for game days and event days. And with that, I'd like to hand it over to Bob Lajewski to discuss TMA around Wrigley Field, please.
Thank you, Bob.
Good evening, everybody. So our TCAs are going to be out there, obviously, for the first game, April 4th, and we do expect to have games in October, so looking forward to that for a long season. We're going to work closely with CPD and the other city agencies and the Cubs to make sure we have a safe and secure event for every game and also every concert that might be happening on the off days. Our TCAs, our roll calls are 3 hours before every game or event, except on opening day or playoff games, and then we start about 4 hours before each game or event for those. And I'll be answering any questions later if anybody has something for us.
Perfect. Thank you, Bob. CPD Commander or Terry, I don't know who would like to put it out.
Good evening. So just a little bit about our partnership with the Cubs organization and our sister agencies with the city. We work very closely with them throughout the year. With the Cubs, with Doug Lindsay and the security team, our people are in contact with them daily, sometimes several times a day. They're great partners throughout the year, not just during the Cubs games and season. As we talk about their technology, their cameras, we use them for some of our investigations, not just during the season. They're useful for other events and other things we have going throughout the year. They're also great support for events we have in the district. Pride Parade, they support us with logistics for that and some other events throughout the city. So it's not just during the Cubs season that we're working together. With that, Wrigley Field is one part of the 19th district. So we are deployed throughout the district, but with the events at Wrigley Field, we have special teams that are assigned to that because of the amount of people that are here during that time frame, during the games. With that, I have some statistics that we have throughout the season for last year that I'll go over real quick. This is from our deployment for the events at Wrigley Field. We had 875 tows or impounds that were related to events at Wrigley Field, 3,007 traffic citations. There were 6 moving violations that were related to events here. Most of the traffic around here is foot traffic and stuff, so the moving violations are not a high priority. There were 38 investigative reports, which are stops on people who were suspected of a crime, or pointed out as being suspicious in this area that were directly related to the Wrigley Field area. There were 28 add-offs, which are tickets written for minor crimes and city violations, and then 16 physical arrests for crimes happening directly related to the events at Wrigley Field. So,
Very good, yes, I'm sure you'll be back up for Q&A. I'd just like to elaborate on something the captain said that I just wanted to reiterate real quick, is the investment. So again, when it comes to those cameras and LPRs and some of the other assets that are provided by Wrigley Field, they are not used just for Cubs games, and is now a year-round asset that can be used for assisting CPD or some of the other agencies here with investigation. Those cameras are always up, those LPRs are always up, regardless of whether or not a ball game is being played. And with that, CDOT, please, Link.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Glenn Always, and I work for the Department of Transportation. As of right now, we work with the Cubs schedule. We work around it, so any projects that we have, street resurfacings, alley aprons, any kind of alley work that we do. We'll work within the schedule as much as we possibly can. Obviously, we've got a lot of things to take into consideration, but we try to do that all year with all of our projects. We'll continue to maintain all of our streets and everything around the ballpark. And everyone will be safe for that. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Department, do we have Department of Finance here? So Matt, there you are. Thank you, sir.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Matt. I'm in the Department of Finance Street Operations Division. For those of you that might not know, Street Operations Division under Finance oversees all citation issuance and vehicle mobilization. In other terms, booting. So we are out here for every event. We typically have teams of 2 to 3 in the immediate area and another 2 to 3 in the expanded area. Last year we issued 10,500 citations in the whole area just during events. 41% of those citations are for residential permit parking during the events, ball games, and concerts. We plan on allocating the same amount of staff for next year. And for any of those wondering about the LV2 permits, those are expected to be mailed out in the next 2 weeks. So you should be seeing those at the very least 2 weeks prior to the opening day. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Matt. Let's see, next on the list, BACP, as you might be friend Jay.
Thanks, Chris. Good evening. My name is Joe Sneed. I'm here to represent my department, which is Business Affairs and Consumer Protection. For the upcoming season, Business Affairs and Consumer Protection will continue to monitor Wrigleyville during games and concerts throughout the 2025 season. Our department's focus will be working with our partners at OEMC and the district CPD to focus on monitoring transportation network providers, TNPs. As Chris stated earlier, that's Ubers, Lyfts, and Vias, especially enforcing they're operating in prohibited areas. This is a key traffic flowing, vehicle traffic flowing. We'll also be monitoring peddler activity. This is stuff that we do every year for compliance with licensing in prohibited areas in order to maintain pedestrian traffic flow. In 2024, we issued a total of 384 violations. 79% of those violations were issued to the public vehicle industry, primarily TNPs. 63% of the total were issued to TNPs. In addition to that, 16% were issued to taxis and pedicabs. The remaining violations were split between unlicensed peddlers and your traditional brick and mortar locations. That's all I've got. It's good to be here. If you have any questions, thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Next on the list, Streets and Sands, Tom.
Good evening. My name is Tom Kostrowski, and I'm Alderman Lawson's ward superintendent of the Department of Streets and Sand. The department pretty much is responsible for housekeeping duties of the ward and the neighborhood. So I like to think the Cubs, they do a phenomenal job of keeping the neighborhood clean. We will supplement them, refuse, recycling, collection, street sweeping, road abatement, graffiti removal. So the department also will work with CPD and OEMC, providing assault trucks and bollards and barricades to try to control traffic and keep everybody safe in the neighborhood. But if you have any issues, I'll be available for questions. And then if you have anything, you can always call 311 for requesting or reach out to Alderman Lawson's office. I'm glad to come out and meet with you and try to resolve any issues there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do we have Department of Water Management? Department of Buildings? OEM. Jonathan?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jonathan Ernst. I am the first Deputy Budget Director for the City of Chicago, and I'm also your neighbor. I live just a couple of blocks from the field, so good to see you all. I want to talk about the Cubs Fund that was alluded to a little bit by Mike, and first sort of say a big thank you. I think as a community member, there's a noticeable impact of what that fund has gone towards, and I personally am very appreciative of the improved safety that we've seen as a result of it. It has been around for a little over a decade. Officially, my understanding is there was funding coming even before that, maybe a little more informally, I'm not sure. But this relationship is codified in an ordinance, and that ordinance not only spells out the contribution that comes to the city, but also the projects that will be carried out with that funding. And as Mike alluded to, there's still one project that is being worked on, but for the most part, that ordinance, most of the projects have been completed. They've been in a variety of different areas. A lot of those are on improved lighting, and of course it's all centered around safety for the community. And so currently, with this one project still pending, still being worked on, there is a little under $1.4 million still in the fund, and so that will be, this project will draw down on that, and then whatever remains, I think there'll be a conversation with the aldermen and the Cubs to figure out what's gonna happen with that funding. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Jonathan. Real quick before we select them real quick, so we can jump right into the Q&A. But CTA.
Just taking the reign. Good evening, everyone. My name is Craig Rogers. I am the Senior Manager for Bus Service Management for CTA in the North Region. And basically, I'm here to just, again, give everybody a little information about our bus operations with regard to all the events at Wrigley. So we pretty much will maintain the same footprint that we do every year. And that's basically, we'll provide extra service on the number 152 Addison, 2 hours pre all the events at Wrigley and an hour afterwards. So again, that pretty much amounts up to extra service on the number 152 route. We also have, in that service, we will also provide a couple of trips over to the metro station over on Irving Park to get people into the events there. So we're looking forward to that. Also, just to let you know that every year we have our bus service supervisors at every event. They work closely with the Chicago Police Department, OMC, and the Cubs with regards to managing the marching service. And I'm pretty much available at a lot of the events as well. I attend meetings with the Cubs and things of that nature. What else? Earlier today in our meeting, after the meeting, myself and one of our staff planning, Mr. Horton and Evan, we took a ride over the contingency routing to kind of look for the signage for the community, but that's very, very important to us with regards to, say, for example, when they do the street closures, where do customers catch the number 22 Clark or the 152? So the signage is pretty good, so we're pretty happy about that. And basically, I'll be here available to answer any questions again that anyone may have. Primarily on bus, but I will take any questions if you give me your contact information. If I can't provide, I'm a mobile instructor. So if I don't have an answer for you now, I will definitely take your information, your contact information, your question, to get you your answer. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Craig. And then we will all be available for the Q&A also, but now on to the Alderman awards. 46 board.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Andre. I'm here to represent Alderwoman Angela Clay. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here due to a family emergency that caused her to be out of town. Just want to say that our office is here to support Alderman Lawson's 44th Ward, the Cubs Park, as well as all the other agencies, to make sure that we are here to help have a wonderful, successful, winning season. On behalf of our constituencies in 46th Ward and in Charles City.
Thank you so much. Do we have 47? 32? Do we have 44? 44 in the house?
I'll just real quick say, again, thank you to, and Andre's right, 46 Ward is a great partner for everything we're doing at Wrigley. We have been in meetings all day together on this and the Pride Parade, so don't think anything goes unnoticed. I also want to acknowledge Shayna Jeskolka, who's here from State Senator Sarah Feigenholz's office. I think Sarah's speeding out of Springfield as we speak, but always a great partner in the safety here. And then just real quick too, we talked about some CDOT projects. We are resurfacing Grace from Racine to Halstead. It's a big project. And then Waveland from Waveland is to Halstead.
And Grace is just a small section in front of
The Greenlawn section that's bad on Grace. We did Kenmore in the last year, we did Alley over there. Those were all Putnam projects as well. So that's really all I have. We're going to get to questions unless I forgot anything. Staff? No. Thanks.
Very good. Thank you, Alderman. And now we will get into the questions here. Let's start with this one. So go to the Cubs. Is there any update on the blue lot fence that's encroaching on the alley on the east side of Clifton? It's really difficult to access our garage spaces.
I'm happy to try and answer, and Alderman can correct me where I'm wrong. The blue lot fence, the issue on the blue lot fence, for those who don't know, is that unlike most alleys in the city, the alley between, behind the residences there and our lot is only 10 feet wide. Most alleys are much wider, gives people a chance to get out of their garages. This one is only 10 feet wide. So our fence is on our property, we believe. The city takes a position that somehow that whole lot is not ours. But we've offered to move the fence back. We're hoping that it can be done in the context of a settlement that puts all of these issues to bed about who owns the parking lot. We're looking to resolve that sooner rather than later, but we haven't gotten there yet. And I think the Alderman, who continues to ask us to move the fence back and is a great advocate for it. We want to do it. We've offered to do it. We said, let's solve the whole thing.
Yeah, I would agree. I think this is an issue if you live on that, or up a lot, we've been working on a while. I would say there is some progress, that we would love to have a full resolution and be able to go out there and be done with that whole thing. We're not there yet, but there has been some movement, and I think, but ultimately there's a scenario where that gets done and we get the alley widened and we're done with the blue lot almost once and for all, hopefully.
Very good. This one is for the police. Were there more citations and arrests in 2024 versus 2023? We can get that for you. Police staffing. Are there sufficient police members in District 19? Or where would staffing be complete? Sufficient staffing for police in District 19.
So I know this is a big hot topic about having enough resources on hand and staffing for the Chicago Police Department. If you ask me personally, we're never going to have enough. We should always have more. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you what the numbers should be, what the numbers to add or what we're approved for, but I can tell you that we can always use more resources. But when it comes to Chicago Police Department and the partnership with the Cubs, what we have done is use all the available tools that are available to us. So when we talk about having license plate readers, when we talk about having a command van, be engaged in and around to protect the crowd, the cameras are actually around Wrigley Field, the security event that we actually had, the partnership with being in them, talking to Alderman Lawson about numbers in and around, and working with the city to get citywide resources and area resources. Anytime there's a concert, anytime there's a game or any event, we're lucky enough that the city does provide us with those resources during those events. So when it comes to making sure that the safety is there, that the public is taken care of, with OEMC, with CFD, we do have sufficient resources when it comes to covering the events.
And then the last one, random bike drops, i.e. divvy. I see Sergeant Living having some PTSD over there. What is the number to call for their removal? This is something very near and dear to myself and Sergeant Levine's heart, 311, but also with our partnership with CDOT, EHCP, and actually Divvy itself. I have a hotline to Divvy, and when we see such issues, we require immediate action. But Sergeant Levine.
You can also, the 311 app, you can go into the 311 app, you can actually photograph them, geotag them, and then so CDOT gets it, they're supposed to pick them up within 2 hours. So we are working towards better geofencing and identifying some better drop locations. We are aware of the issue and are working with CDOT to remedy it.
And that also goes for e-scooters. All right, moving right along. Let's take this one. Regarding stickering of 383 tow zone to include all events.
We actually talked about that earlier in our meeting as well. They are changing the signs. Some say ball games, some say events, some say state. They're all going to say stadium events, so that it's clear that whether it's a concert or a game, or a football game, or a hockey match, That's what the deal is. So thanks for bringing that up.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
The question was, right now there's an inconsistency on the signage for 383 and LV2. Some say ball games, some say events, some say games.
Some say no parking at all, because I've sent photos of that to your office.
No, these are the 383 signs, so that's the resident parking signs, right? Yeah, so the language is being changed to all say stadium events.
And when is that going to be enforced?
Enforcement of parking restrictions
Yes.
happens every day.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
I'm in between both wards, and I'm sure he's cringing right now. It's something I said 2 years ago about the permit zone 383. It's not enforced because the tickets, some of the areas say 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. I've sent your office numerous photos. I've called almost weekly. I call my alderman's office weekly about the lack of parking enforcement. So while the signage is being changed, and I think that's great, I think the parking enforcement, and Andre can tell you without a doubt, when I had one-on-one, and I'd like to do a one-on-one with your office whenever you have it, is that it's not being enforced.
So we'll follow up and we'll make sure. We're going to take a writers in the room. We'll do that. Thanks.
2 years.
Thank you.
It doesn't matter, it's not enforced. I've sent 1,000 photos to both aldermen.
How can we resolve the following? Parking, bus lines and rideshare are consuming parking along Addison. There's a game this Easter. Trash. We're located on the northwest corner of Broadway and Addison. 1 yard fills with trash after games events. Public urination. Fans continue to urinate on our church. Thanks. And thanks for the work with the schools. I will hand that to CPD first and then streets and second.
Is this the staging area on Addison is the question? Is that the question?
Parking, bus lines, ride
Yeah,
share,
so
consuming
unfortunately, yeah, so we just need an area to stage the buses. We are kind of fenced off by, we can't do metered parking for strip. So we had to identify areas that were basically rush hour lanes. The one side where we stage CTA buses, the other side is a rideshare pickup zone. As far as that question. Right?
Yeah, and when it comes to the public urination, I'll tell you this one, when we have the resources out there, we have cameras anywhere, when those calls come in, these guys do get dispatched over where it is. That's one of the numbers where you'll see the ANOS that were written, and one of them is for the public urination.
Unfortunately, a lot of that happens at the out, which is also one of our busiest times with other public safety related concerns. So going to be managing that. Public urination is a priority, but it's not going to be our highest.
Can I also direct that to the Cubs? That was my question. Our understanding was that the Cubs also are doing some sort of cleaning like power washing. This is a conversation the church has had before with the Cubs, is my understanding. I gotta assume this is Cardinals fans, right? That we're talking about here.
They're Cub fans.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure I understand completely the question, but do we power wash on streets after games? Yes. I'm not sure exactly what intersection we're talking about, but we can go.
Yeah, this is Broadway and Addison. So I think we're like sort of, we're on the outer perimeter of where you're working. And I'm wondering if there's any way we could stretch that out.
We'll take a look at it. Yeah, you're right. If you're at Broadway and Addison, you're outside the perimeter of that. Okay, but we will take a look.
As a neighbor of the ballpark, I know and understand that baseball noise comes with living so close to a stadium. However, what has been a constant disappointment has been the large amount of nuisance noise, such as bucket drumming, bucket boys, I assume, which regularly occurs on Wrigley between Clifton and Kenmore, and at the bleacher entrance at Wrigley and Sheffield. What can be done about this noise that typically begins in the 6th inning and lasts for hours? Note, I've attended council meetings about this, called 311-911, called the 44th Ward, and emailed the ward and the Cubs
Well, it's actually street performer's license that would actually be needed, which none of them actually have, fortunately. I think this is probably going to roll into
It's a
the project.
difficult, and it becomes a difficult constitutional question when you're soliciting donations and the court precedent with street performing. There is some sound elements, but those don't come into effect at 10 p.m. So we really have to catch them in the act of soliciting the financial. Otherwise, people have a First Amendment right to express. The sound ordinance issues really don't come until about 10 p.m.
That was my question. Can I follow up? So I've called 311. I've called the Cubs friendly number. If the individual is sitting on the Cubs side of the sidewalk where all the bricks are done, the Cubs 24/7 security goes out and takes care of it right away. I understand the need of closing Waveland because of the public way, as we all just saw in New Orleans, is definitely necessary. I'm not questioning it needing to be closed. However, that lets the individuals set up in the middle of the street. I've been told there's not enough police officers to go over and address it. I've walked to the police officers who sit in the van at the end of Kenmore. I've walked to the police officers who, there's a large group of them that are at the bleacher entrance and exit. No one interacts with the individual, so I'm confused how we can
He has a
say.
constitutional right to be there.
I understand that, but if they are collecting money, as it was just said, and they don't have a license to do so, how do we know whether they have a license or not if we're not interacting with that individual?
Well, so there becomes an issue of the ordinance, and if there's not like a suggested donation, and we have to actually catch them collecting money, and there's some constitutional issues, and at that point, even if they don't have a license, we can cite them and they can continue.
Okay.
And they have to plead their case in court. We have to be very careful with particularly performance and the First Amendment.
Good. Follow up if there's the possibility for the alderman to introduce legislation. I understand during COVID there was legislation specifically around street performers downtown on State Street and Michigan Avenue. I don't know if you know anything about that, but that would be of curiosity. I think banging on a bucket for hours on end, reverberating up the street is not the same as freedom of speech.
Well,
I understand the Constitution and I understand
all right.
letting people do it.
The city's been in court over this, and the current ordinance is based off of previous litigation. So even our sound ordinance has walked back quite a bit from what it was when I started doing this.
Yeah.
So we have to operate in those, and those guys are very versed in the system.
Yeah, I understand. It's just
They're the same guys that were downtown that took the city to court.
Understandable, but as the Alderman stated, we'll look into it, absolutely, and that's what these meetings are about, just because the code isn't written in stone, so we can definitely take a look. The outfield perimeter is almost always unsecured, only at the end of the season, there was a CPD squad blocking Grace Seminary, Grace Clifton. This position, although it frequently leaves before the crowds clear, leaving Seminary and Clifton unsecured. CPD.
We're doing an overall assessment of all the points, and that will be addressed.
Doing an overall assessment of all the points, and that will be addressed. Question number 2, TNP blackout zone for bar crawl, St. Patty's, New Year's Eve, etc. If the question is, are they in place? Yes, they absolutely are, and that is done in conjunction with CDOT, BACP, and CPD. And also we meet with all of those agencies in addition to all of the TNP companies once a month, every Friday, one Friday every month at a minimum. Renee Jackson, please ask me. I have several questions.
Right here.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I'd like to say something to the Wrigley, the Cub organization. One of the things I would like to see, and I expect, as someone who's lived here, and I used to play here as a kid when it was Lemoyne, although I went to Our Lady of Mount Carmel, so I've been here since the Latin Eagles were here, and they pretty much ruled the area. So what I'd like to see is when your employees are on their golf carts driving, what I expect to see is them follow the rules of the road. So if it's a red light, I don't think they should be turning or trying to knock people down to get to wherever they're going. Then my next comment is on the urination. I just want to let you know, since the 70s, it's been an issue. So don't be alarmed by that. The other thing that I'd like to address is the lack of parking enforcement for the Uber drivers who block the area and for the Salvation Army. The Salvation Army, people who live there cannot even get in or out of their area. I'd also like to know who thought of that area as a staging area so that when we're driving down the street, as I've addressed with Andre from my alderman's office, who thought of the idea of them stopping there so that there are 2 and 3 cars blocked so that we cannot get home? The other item that I'd like to address is, and I addressed this 2 years ago when I was shocked that the police department and the alderman at that time, Tom Tunney, who actually is a parishioner at Our Lady of Mount Carmel with me, asked me where the no stopping, no standing sign is across the street from Wrigley. And Alderman Lawson, just so you know, I actually called your office about it, and I've talked to Andre about it extensively since I've seen a number of cars do U-turns there. And your office told me, matter of fact, they didn't know what no stopping, no standing meant. So in between the no stopping, no standing, I think they need to be trained on that, because if we were to leave here now, like I said 2 years ago, when I noticed how bad the parking had become, we'll see Uber cars block there, stop there to get the food. And I think my last call with your office was, well, if they're just going in to pick up an order, that's okay. Then I'd like to see the city of Chicago change that sign.
I think I can answer the first one of those, and then I will pass the microphone to either Sergeant Medina or Alderman Lawson. But in terms of golf carts, obviously not our intent to do anything other than follow the rules. So all I can say tonight is I appreciate the comment, and we'll take it back and make sure it gets to the people who are in charge of that program.
I will take the lack of Uber enforcement, and if CPD or BACP want to jump in. That location was chosen, I mean, it's really no surprise. What happened in New Orleans over the holidays, it's not the first time it's happened. And when it comes to public safety, especially with vehicular threats, unfortunately gone are the days of taxi cabs. They're bright, you hail them, they're vetted, they're licensed. It has transitioned over to TMBs, which are now en masse so much more than these taxis were. And unfortunately, hostile vehicle mitigation threats are very real. It's nothing new. It happens all over the world, but unfortunately, the delicate balance of the transportation system, mass transit, Uber, all the way down to the pedestrian, it's a delicate balance in public safety, and to keep that part of the transit system alive, it had to be in a location that was not near the ballpark, that allowed easy ingress and egress. But I am more than happy to evaluate it. So that was evaluated with city agencies along with the TMP companies. So we're more than happy to take a look, but that is why it was chosen.
We had to look at locations that did not have parking meters, that were not residential, and we looked at GPS data of when people opened their phone, when they were requesting a ride, and where they were willing to walk. We also wanted to put transit before it, so we made transit a more viable option. That's why there's buses and trains and the scooters and Divvy before you get to the TNP. We had to make ADA accommodations, so we had to provide an ADA route. We did this with the providers. Unfortunately, that is the only street that doesn't have meters, that isn't residential, and has the width for a curb lane. As far as enforcement, we're working with the Department of Finance. The entertainment officers in the 19th district, the first officers will be beginning electronic photo enforcement of violations like double parking, like bike lanes. So our officers are equipped with that, and so we're issuing those citations. We'll be 100% live this year for the club season, so that will increase the enforcement activity, and it's tied directly into the Department of Finance and provides photo evidence. So not only are these citations being written, but there's also the evidence to back them up.
You know, one of the reasons why I'm standing is because I've been in 3 car accidents. The last one I was hit by a car going 80 miles per hour and getting riding. So I'm thankful to be alive. So I'm standing because I have a really bad knee. So if I'm hearing you correctly, that area right there by the Salvation Army, they're allowed to park 3 cars at a time, because what I can tell you is I've sent his office and my alderman's office photos that I've stopped my car, parked my car, and taken photos of the Uber cars that are out there and the limo cars, 3 cars out.
No, they're not supposed to do that, so that's what we said.
So then we need to do something, because what I don't want to be in, I don't want to be in a 4th car.
So we send enforcement, we take photographs, we document it, and we send them citations. Unfortunately, I can't impound their car for illegal parking. I can't arrest the driver. I send them citations, they get them in the mail, they're expensive. Double parking is like $150, the bike lane's $250. You know, we try. I mean, that's the best we can do. We're taking a tool. We are the first district in the city to utilize a new tool to try to increase that. So we're aware of it. It frustrates me. I understand it, and we want to make it better. And that's why the Department of Finance has worked with us, and they've really been helpful. And we're hoping that now that those violations are going to be photo evidence, that these guys are going to be like, hey, I don't want the $250 ticket they ain't going to pay. The ride's not going to pay for that ticket. So we're going to get on it.
And that is a great point, is that the photographic evidence, and while I know it may not seem apparent because there is not somebody out there physically enforcing it, these are enforced via photograph. And just as the sergeant said, they get in the mail. It's, you know, unfortunately the whole landscape of, I don't want to say lawlessness, but I'm going to say lawlessness is kind of changed. If you don't see somebody out there with a badge and a ticket, then you're going to take that chance. But, you know, times have changed. We've upped our game, and the cameras and the LPRs and the app and the photographic evidence, and the enforcement is happening. And it is equally frustrating on our part. And then the last question I may give to CDOT, because we did talk about, yes?
You didn't address the no stopping, no standing.
That is what I'm giving to
Okay, great.
CDOT right
Thank you.
now. So I will give this to CDOT because we talked about it earlier, about all of the signage and the revamp there. Thank you, Lenny.
So, can you tell me a little bit more about what the issue is?
Sure, I'll say the same thing that I said 2 years ago, and I'll say the same thing when he was coming into office as well as my alderman was coming into office. If we were to leave here right now, we all walk down the street, as we made a right-hand turn on Addison, we could see right from this corner all the cars that are parked across the street from Wrigley Field, and those who are parked right where the Sports King, Draft King, whatever it is, whatever the bar area is there. There are cars that are parked there, right in front of signs that say, no stopping, no standing. And those cars should be ticketed, just like the ones that make the U-turns to go and make the delivery right in front of the police department. But I'd like someone to really address this, because this is something that is very concerning to me, because I did see a rollover in that area when that area was demolished from the old 7-Eleven to what it is now.
I can't speak to enforcement. You know, if there was a problem with the signs, if there weren't enough signs, I could do something about that. The enforcement part of that, we have no enforcement capabilities. So I would have to once again throw that in place.
No, that's fine. So again, to piggyback off of this photographic enforcement, I don't know if everybody saw the press announcement that, again, these photographs and these LPRs that have now shrunk down in size, it's amazing. On a regular sedan, or actually CDOT is piloting this project, LPRs on all corners, and they just drive around the city. It could be bike lane enforcement, it could be bus lane enforcement, it could be double parking. So this has really changed the game. Unfortunately, you know, everybody wants to see that person out there with the badge and the ticket book, but with the sheer volume and the size of the city, we're going photographic. And the enforcement is happening, and we will be getting those numbers in the comparison between 2023 and 2024. And we had the ACP and Department of Finance also brief out on that. So the enforcement is happening, but as far as the signage, yes, we are evaluating all of the signage in the area. Alderman, did you have anything on that? No.
Can citizens just take pictures and send them via 311 or?
So it depends on the circumstances. If it's regarding a TMP vehicle, you can do it through the 311 app. You will be then sent an affidavit in the mail because they need a signed affidavit to take discipline as a driver. But for a regular just driving, no. So it would only be for a licensed public vehicle. Use the 311 app. They then send you an affidavit. You fill the affidavit out, sign it. That the photograph they are providing is that you attest to it.
So I think you mentioned something about Uber drivers picking up or dropping off food. Just to clarify, if they're parked illegal, they're parked illegal. So whether they're working or not, they're parked illegal. It can be enforced, and it is enforced throughout the city. Unfortunately, you know, we hear it, you know, we're just trying to do our job, but if they're double parked, if they're parked in a tow zone, they do get enforcement. So that does happen. I will say, like they said, the only people who can write parking tickets are the police and Department of Finance for anything like tow zones, residential permit parking, things like that. We obviously cannot be on every block at every moment. We can't catch every single violator. We have added violations to 311 that you can report through the app if there's issues with RPP on your block, that's residential permit parking, I'm sorry, or issues around Wrigley Field, tow zones, things like that, issues with the taxis, Uber drivers parking in tow zones or double parking. Those can all be reported through the app. That goes into our data analytics that we use to deploy our staff. So primarily, like I believe you mentioned, issues with enforcement of the 383 zone. Again, if you're having issues with residential permit parking, you can put that through the app. You can also contact your alderman's office with the blocks, the time of day, any details that you can provide us is helpful. They'll pass that on to us and we'll prioritize those areas. Maybe the next game, maybe the next day, maybe the next week. We'll continue to prioritize those areas until we hopefully see some changes. Okay?
Thank you, Matt. Next question, will CPD continue to block off streets during Cubs games? And then Lee, this last one says, can OEMC stop for 1 hour post-game?
That's not my question, but CPD leaves before the crowds clear frequently. Like, they're not flexible based on the crowd size. Whatever their shift's over, it seems like they leave. Like on Waveland and Kenmore, for example. Sam?
TNAs or CPD?
CPD.
CPD. In Waveland and Kenmore?
It's not all of it. We'll adjust that. That's something we're looking at. But yes, there are certain, we don't all leave. There are certain officers that are detailed in, and they are here for the event. They're not district officers, so they have other assignments, there's other events in the city.
Yeah, and just so everyone can hear it, what Sergeant Medina is talking about is for any event across the city, police is not police is not police. So you have the district units, but then you have what is called the detail unit, and the detail unit is CPD, but they are on, I would say, Homeland Security missions. So they are not your typical district cop. They have different roles and responsibilities out there. So that is the ones you may see coming, going, who usually would have been on that host. Are the yellow barriers going up in the same places and amounts as in 2024? Can enforcement of no stopping, parking in front of small Cheval please be enforced? The yellow barriers, is that the Archer barricades? Yes, again, hostile vehicle mitigation is a hot button topic, and we address it all over the city, but yes, there will be that and other measures that we will continue to do in 2025. And then I live on the 3700 block of North Kenmore. Will the blue barricades at the entrance to this block at Grace Street be occupied by OEMC staff this year? In 2024, I found staff at that location less than 10% of the time the barricades were up.
Yeah, it all depends on what other events are going on in the city. Obviously, we would like to staff as much as we can at Wrigley Field, but depending on the day of and other events that are going on in the city, it's just not possible. So then that's why we work closely with CPD, and like the commander said, they've been very fortunate from downtown. Their CPD special events does supplement them with some officers to help out with these situations.
So a collaborative effort there between CPD and TFA. That is all the questions that we have. I'd like to hand it over to Mike Lafrano and then the Alderman and Commander for any closing comments, though. But Mike,
If I'm the start of the closing, just want to say thank you. Again, as I started this is my 22nd year doing this, but we talked to our colleagues all across Major League Baseball and all the other teams. This is unique to have this level of city services, to have this level of relationship with the police, with an automatic office show up year after year after year to support what's going on in the community. It doesn't happen anywhere else in baseball that I'm aware of. And so from our perspective, thank you to our neighbors for coming out. We love to hear it because it makes us better. We love to work together. And a particular thank you to Chicago Police, Fire, OEMC, and Alderman Bloss's office, not just for tonight, but for what you do all year long. And to Inter-American as well for hosting us.
actually, I'm going to go to the Commander here. I'm going to save the best for last.
Switch it up.
I just want to say thank you for everybody being out here. Appreciate the questions. You can feel the frustration coming out of some people, and I don't blame you. This is your neighborhood. You guys have lived here. But also understand when you heard Sergeant Levine speaking, you can also hear the same amount of frustration. So they're in it with you. They're here to work with you. They're trying to get this done as quickly as possible, understand where you're coming from, and do what we can with what we have. So understand we feel the frustration from both ends. We try to do what we can to help everybody else out. It might not happen on our timelines. It might not happen overnight, but understand that we do take every call seriously, and we try to work on it with our sister agencies as best as possible. You might not get the answer when you want, but I promise you we are discussing it, we are talking about it, working with the Alderman's office, working with the Cubs organization, OEMC. We're in constant conversations to figure out how we can make this safer, how we can make it work better when it comes to parking enforcement. Again, it might not fall on your priority scale or ours based on, the incidents or the events that are happening, but don't think that we're ignoring it or we're not listening to it. We are. And you can feel it when I'll say it again, Sergeant Lee, he's lived here, he's worked here. He cares about the neighborhood just like everybody else is working on our side of the 19th district. We truly care about the community, the beats, the meetings that we come to. Understand we're there for you, we're here to work with you. It doesn't matter if it's just urination or if it's just double parking. We're here to work with you and try to make it work the best way that we possibly can.
Well said. Thank you, Commander. Alderman.
Well, great. I'll just say thanks again for everyone who joined us tonight. This dialogue is important, and it's not just tonight, it's throughout the year, and our office stands ready to assist with all the issues. Opening day, there's always a lot of angst, and then usually by the second day, when everybody remembers that I guess we do this every year. So muscle memory comes back, and so we look forward to spreading the word on everything that's new and the changes that come up. We usually get a lot of media for opening day as well. I really want to thank the Cubs organization, Mike, and team for your continued investment in the ballpark. And when you talk about Gallagher Way, I have 49 colleagues that are jealous of Gallagher Way. I have 48 colleagues that are jealous of Wrigley Field. But, you know, there's something really important and magical and special here, and that's why a lot of us chose to be here, because it is important and special, whether that's Wrigley or other parts of the neighborhood. So thank you for your participation in that. It's a team effort. Thanks to every department that's here. And there's a lot more of them here every day when there is a game. So there's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes they don't get thanked enough for. But thank you all again and for joining us tonight.
All right, everyone, get home safe. Thank you. And if you're around on opening day, you will see many of us out there. Opening day in Chicago, not Japan. All right, everyone. Thank you.